Hi guys, so today what I'm going to do is just go over a few of the techniques that I went over in class as a refresher and as a video for people that might have missed it or not taken good notes. Let's get started. What we're going to be doing is distorting and transforming some layers, specifically text. So I'm going to go ahead and get started by hitting the T. We're going to use this area here, and I'm going to hit the T for text tool. I'm going to click, hold, and drag to make a type box, and I'm going to put the cap lock key on, and I'm just going to type maker space, all one word, just like that. And I'm going to select all, Command A, and I'm going to increase the size until I get a lot of text filling the space. And that's what I'm going to do. So we now have this makerspace as Arial. You can see right here. And what I'm going to do is jump this layer. So I have a copy, Command J, turn this bottom one off, and I'm going to rasterize this layer. So just go right here, rasterize type, and now I've made this layer into, in essence, just pixels that I can deform and move around. So the first thing that we did in class was we talked about how can you get the selection of a layer that has invisibility, like this one, back. How can you get that selection back? And we talked about how you can go ahead and command click on the actual icon, and you'll notice the marching ants here, and that means you've got the selection back. So if you needed it in order to, for instance, I'm going to double click this layer, hit OK, and if you needed to make a mask, that's how you would use this layer to create a mask where you can do some knockouts, either knockout like this, Command I, or a knockout like this where you have something in the background that's different. Okay, so let's throw this mask away and do not apply it, delete it, and then let's go back to this layer, makerspace copy. Now, because I'm going to be messing this layer up, I'm going to Command J, jump it a couple of times so that Command J, so that I have several layers to work with, and I'm going to hide the ones underneath, and we'll just work with the top layer. Okay, the next thing we talked about in the class was the ability to transform this, Command T. Obviously, you know, you can rotate it, you can scale it, but what we didn't specifically go over, except in class, is I can hold the Command key down and then grab any one of these corner points and distort this layer as well. So this is great if you want to put something on a distorted building, or if you want to make something look like it's going off into the distance like this. So you can use, by holding the Command key down on the keyboard, you can now grab these points and distort this layer any way you want. So again, Command plus the transform allows you to distort the layer. I'm just going to hit return to set that, and that's going to be our Command distort. So for selection, let's select this next layer, turn it on, and let's go ahead and do the next thing. The next area I wanted to go over was taking a mask, like an image, and using it as a mask. So for instance, on this side, I have this beautiful texture. So I'm going to select all, copy it, bring it over here, and paste it. And you'll see it's on its own layer. Now, if I wanted to turn this into a mask, it would make everything that's black would be invisible, everything that's white would be opaque. But you can't just turn it into a mask. The way that works is what you need to do, I'm going to turn this off for a second, is you need to have a mask already. So we'll just make a mask for this text layer. I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to copy it, Command C. I'm going to turn it back off, and now I'm going to select the mask by holding the Option key. When I do that, I'm actually in the mask, seeing the mask. So for instance, if I use the brush tool, B for brush, and I make it bigger, right? And I start to, oh, that's very big. Oh, I'm not seeing, oh, because cap lock's on. There it is. So I've got this brush, right, and we're in the mask and we're drawing with black, and you can kind of see the black makes things transparent. But if I option click, I'm actually seeing the mask, and I can work with it. By option clicking again, I delete the mask, make the mask, delete the mask. So let's select all of this mask and hit the delete button so we have a nice white mask. So what you do is you copy this layer, Command C, select it, Command V, right, Command C to copy it, and then you option click here and then Command V. And I'll just do that, Command V. Maybe I did not select this layer. Let's make sure. All Command C. I've got it in memory. Now Option click here and Command V. And now you can see that I've actually pasted in this image as a mask, which is great because now if I Option click again to go back to the original, you'll see I have this really great texture. I'll even make it clearer by adding just a normal, let's make it a pink layer and put it underneath so you can see the texture that we've created. So you can kind of see this is a great way of working with textures or any image and turning it into a mask, and you get this beautiful like texture inside. Okay, so that's another thing that we learned how to do, was actually copy and paste textures into a space, right? And so the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to just go ahead and hide that, and we're going to turn on this guy. I'll put this pink layer way down here between the two so that it's out of the way. Okay, so we have another layer here that Command deselect that we can actually add some texture to. Now, the next thing we learned was how to distort the actual letters by using a filter. And the way it works is we need something that's a Photoshop document that we can use to distort these letters. So for instance, if we wanted to use this, we have to save it as a Photoshop document first. So I'm going to go to File, Save As, and I'm going to make sure Photoshop is selected. I'm just going to call this, I don't know, X1, I don't know why, and I'm going to save it in this texture folder right here, and I'm going to hit Save. Okay, now I have a copy of this saved in the texture folder. So if I go back over here, the way this works is it has to be a pixel layer. We go to Filter, Distort, and then we're going to use Displace. And I'm going to displace it. I'm going to displace it at 50. Yours should say 10, but I'm going to make it 50 so it's much more intense. And I'm going to hit OK. And at this point, you have to find that Photoshop document. Notice that the JPEGs and PNGs do not work. So we're going to hit Open. And this is our displacement that we get. And you can see why 50 was so harsh. But you see the pattern that you see here, right? That pattern now is not only affecting the interior like we did with this mask one, right? It's actually affecting the actual letter itself, which is really interesting. So if I were to undo this, Command Z, like this, and then go to Filter, Distort, Displace, and bring this down maybe to 10, like the default, and hit OK, you'll see, and then I pick X1 again, you'll see that it just slightly deforms the letters, which might give you enough just displacement to give you like something that's a little more interesting than the original text that you were using. And again, the way this kind of works is the whites get pushed one direction and the blacks gets pushed the other direction, and grays don't get moved at all. So when you have a black and white image, or any image, right? So for instance, maybe this is the image you want to use, which looks exactly like this, right? So this is called background 2. So if I were to go here and undo this and go to Filter, Distort, Displace, background 2, I'm going to make this 30 and 30 and hit OK, and we'll use background 2. You'll see we have a completely different aesthetic, right? And you'll notice that it's actually, because this image and this background image are identical, it's actually using the displacement of the actual objects in the space to move the letters around a bit, as you can see here, right? So this actually makes it feel more like this image is on top of the background. In fact, if you kind of brought it down a little bit, maybe feel a little bit more like it's actually in this space, the distortion's taking place. You can kind of see here, especially on the S, where it's got some of the movement of this area here. Might not be exactly right, but it's pretty good. All right, so that's the displacement element. Let's see, what else did we go over? One thing that we noticed, like this displacement works on being a grayscale. So if I undo this, for instance, so if I go here, now currently this is just, if I Shift Command U just to make it grayscale, this is actually the mask that it's using. But if I really wanted to push this because this was not harsh enough, like there's too many grays, on this side, I can go Command L. And what that brought up was the image adjustment levels. And the levels we talked about in class show you on this document where most of the values are. And you can see there's barely any blacks. There's some black here, but there's not much black. So you see in the black area, no black really. And there's very little white here. In fact, this is actually a gray, not a white. So you can kind of see there's no white here, but there's a lot of grays right here. So if I were to shift this, you can see this shifts it to make all this gray much brighter. And if I shift it this way, it makes all this gray much darker, right? It actually weights everything from here to here as if it were from here to here. But what you can do is increase the contrast by bringing these two sliders together. The more you bring them together, the higher the contrast, because what you're saying is everything below here, all this gray and below, is going to be pure black. Right? So by doing that, let me bring this up here, you can see that everything from here back becomes pure black, right? And the same thing goes true to the white. Everything from here back becomes pure white. So by bringing these together, you can really increase the contrast like this, right? And I'm going to hit OK. Now, if I were to save this, Command S, now this Photoshop document is going to be completely different when I use it on this side. So if I go to Filter, Distort, Displace, I make 30, I just select my X1 or my background, let's see, save. Let's make sure we can save it. Let's go Filter, Distort, Displace, hit OK, there it is. I don't know why it didn't show up, it was probably saving. Hit Open. You'll notice that all of a sudden, there is much more happening here, right? And you can kind of see it. I have this is displaced quite a bit. But you can kind of see how this is really displaced based off of what we're seeing here. And it's by quite a bit. I'm going to undo that and maybe lower that value a bit. So by increasing the contrast, you also can increase the amount of displacement or masks that you're using. That just allows you more. There we go. Do that. Let's see how that works. So you can kind of see that it really is displacing it a lot based off of this mapping. Because there's not a lot of grays, it's either all the way left or all the way right. So there you go. The last thing I wanted to talk about, let's go ahead and go here, and is the gradient. So let's go ahead and turn on this makerspace again. And this time I'm just going to use the text box like right here, and I'm just going to make a mask right here. So right now this is not a pixel layer, it's actually just a text box. I'm going to select the gradient, the mask itself, and then what we're going to use is our G. Instead of our paint bucket tool, we're going to use the gradient tool. And what I'm going to show you on the gradient tool, actually I'll just show it to you on the pink layer, is if we select black as our foreground color and white as our background color, and we select the gradient tool, we can actually create a gradient that goes from one color to the other color. And you'll notice it says linear here, and that's because we're using, by default, this basic one color to the next color, basic linear thing. Now we could click this and it becomes a radial gradient, right? And then we can click this for a different type of gradient and this one for a different type. The nice thing with these gradients is that you can, after the fact, change the weighting of where the gradient goes from and to. You can move these around like this, right? And currently, again, we're setting up for black and white, which is this one, but we could use our two colors like this. So now it goes from this color to the white color, background to foreground, or you could do foreground to just a transparent color, which you can see here, but you can't see it like here because it's on the pink layer. Make sense? Okay, so why is this useful? Well, besides making nice gradients, which I'm going to just now throw away, you can do the following on a layer. So I'm going to turn this text layer on, and I'm going to go to this gradient, or into this mask, and I'm just going to type gradient, G for gradient, and I'm going to make sure I'm on the black and white one, and I'm going to click, hold, and drag, and now you can see what does that gradient do. It actually turns this mask, option click here so you can see it. It allows me to make a gradient on the mask, which allows the objects in the mask to fade out along a line in this case. So you can see how that looks when I do that, right? And the nice part is you can always go back and fix that to make it work better for you. And remember, white is opaque and black is transparent. So you can kind of do something like this. Okay, so that's how you use a gradient tool, both for just regular layers, but also for a mask. Let's delete this mask. The final thing I wanted to go over is something called the Puppet Warp tool. So what I'm going to do is rasterize this layer. This will be the last thing we do today. And I'm going to go to Edit. I'm on that layer. It is a pixel layer. This works on pixel layers. I'm going to go to Puppet Warp. And you'll notice when I do that, instantly I get like a grid or a mesh, which it's now expecting. You can kind of see, let's see, where are the Puppet Warp objects here? It's giving me these little like pins, and the pins are nice because you can just click anywhere to create a pin, but you can actually now move this pin, and what it's doing is it's acting like if you accidentally make a pin, holding the option key down deselects it, just like a selection tool. But you can actually modify these pins, add them in, and modify the mesh all day. So you can kind of see you could really warp, which is why it's called Puppet Warp, these meshes. And you can see if you don't have two, it's going to be a problem. Now the resolution of this mesh does matter, because if this mesh does not have enough resolution, so for instance, if we tried to distort these 2 points, like these three, you can kind of see it starts to really like pull the mesh apart, right? So the more resolution you have on a mesh, which is based on your document, the more you're going to be able to use this tool and make some smooth choices. Okay, so once you've done that, like you've moved things around and you're happy, you don't have any choice afterwards to go back to this. So once you hit return, that is permanent. So now this is a bunch of pixels that are permanently fused, and if you were to save this document, you can't get back to that mesh to fix this. But this is a really nice tool. It works on everything, not just text layers, but honestly, you can distort background layers like this. So for instance, image or edit, Puppet Warp, and you'll see everything has a mesh here, and so you can kind of distort things like this. So anything that has transparency, or even when it doesn't have transparency, can be distorted, as you can kind of see here. So you can use it to fix something that just seems out of place, or you can use it to really distort stuff to make it work with your image. I think I've selected, so let's see, texture masks, paint bucket, merge layers. Oh, one last thing, yeah, merging layers. I talked about like, let's turn this on. So in this case, if I wanted to merge all these layers, I could select everything by holding the shift key down, and obviously Command E would crush everything down into one layer, but then I would lose all my layers, right? So we've done that in class where we've selected everything that we want to merge together and Command E or layer up here, right? And then merge layers. But there is a keyboard shortcut that I really like. It requires you to be on a layer that is actually turned on. So I'm just going to be on, let's see, a layer that's on is this one. So you have to be on a layer that's visible, right? And then what you can do is hold the Command, the Option, the Shift, and then the E key, and watch what happens. It actually creates a crushed, it's as if you crush the entire document I'm going to put this on top so you can see it. It's as if you crush the entire document into one layer, and then it makes a new layer for it without destroying anything else. So it's exactly the same as if you had selected all of these, crush them together, Command E. You can see they're same, but you get to keep all the layers. So the keyboard shortcut was Command, Option, Shift, and E. So I hope this helps a little bit. Just practice a little bit with different techniques, and I'll see you in class.